Hello and welcome to Exotical Tea. In this video, I want to talk about something that I think a lot of exoticals or, exotic looking women, mixed women, racially ambiguous women, or women who are hard to place have experienced. And that is the weird reality of being bullied, questioned, or socially rejected in communities that you should technically belong to, whether that's the Black community, white community, Latin community, or honestly any cultural space where you at least partially fit into. Because on paper, people will say, well, you belong there too. But in real life, it rarely feels that simple. And I'm speaking from my own perspective as an exotic looking light skinned Black woman. A lot of people assume that looking exotic means life is easier socially because people hype up your looks, right? People might compliment your features or call you pretty. People might say you look unique, or they might be fascinated by the ambiguity, like they'll try to place you. But what they don't really talk about enough is how being visually hard to categorize can make you a target in spaces where identity is treated like something you have to prove instead of being naturally embraced by the communities you should be connected to. You can end up being treated like an outsider entirely. So you might be too Black for one space, or not Black enough for another, or too ambiguous for people to trust, too different for people to stop projecting onto you. And that can create this constant sense of, I think I would call it social homelessness. I think a lot of the bullying starts with the fact that people are uncomfortable with identities they can't instantly sort. So people love certainty. They love knowing where to place someone, like what box to put you into. They love knowing what social rules apply to a person or what specific stereotypes to attach. But when someone looks ethnically mixed or racially ambiguous or exotic, people often lose that certainty and it dysregulates them. So instead of sitting with the discomfort, they project. And sometimes it'll come out as interrogation, right? So I know a lot of us have heard this. People are gonna come up to you and they'll ask, "What are you? Are you mixed?" Or they'll be like, "You don't look fully Black," or "You don't look fully XYZ, right? You're too light," or "You don't count. You're not really one of us," or "You count because of the one drop rule." So I'm laughing because it's not because it's funny, but it'll come out as a joke sometimes. But sometimes it'll also be exclusion, right? So it'll come up as a dismissal. Um, Sometimes it'll just be straight resentment, which can be especially intense in communities where colorism, featureism, or texturism already exist because when you're perceived as having features that are rewarded by society, people will start assigning you a certain privilege without even knowing your actual lived experience. So you're not just a person now, you're a symbol, you're something for them to project onto. um, People will start attaching assumptions to you, like she probably had it easier, she probably gets picked more, she probably thinks she's better. She probably doesn't struggle in the same way, or she doesn't understand the culture. And those, sometimes it's subtle, not always, but often it turns into hostility. So I think one of the hardest parts is when the bullying comes from the exact community where you were hoping would feel like home. um, it's one thing for strangers to misunderstand you, but to have people who share your background or part of your background to make you feel like you have to earn your right to exist there, that's an entirely different thing. So, it's interesting that this can happen in multiple directions. Like in Black spaces, an exotic looking light skinned woman might get treated like she's not fully in because people project assumptions onto her based on her phenotype. People might assume she's She's disconnected from the struggle. She's never struggled a day in her life. She doesn't know the culture. She doesn't share any of our experiences, right? Meanwhile, in white spaces, that same woman might be racialized or othered, or made hyper aware that she is not seen as fully belonging there either. And that may not even come from the white people in the white spaces, that may come from people outside of that space. They may plant these seeds into her mind, like, oh, well, just because you're part white, you're hanging out with them, they still see you as one of us, right? But it doesn't matter where her roots are. Any space can create a layer of testing, no matter what categories she fall into, right? So it becomes, do you speak the language, or do you know the food? Can you cook this food? Do you know the customs? Can you prove enough cultural legitimacy? So no matter where you go, belonging can start to feel almost conditional. Like every room you enter requires an audition, and that's exhausting. I also think there's a specific kind of bullying that happens when people confuse aesthetic fascination with acceptance. Like people might praise your looks while socially excluding you. Like that contradiction is something a lot of exoticals experience. Like you can be called beautiful, unique, stunning, unforgettable, and still not be emotionally safe in the room. You're still not going to be trusted or fully embraced. People are still going to talk about you. You're still going to be othered. So that's why, compliments don't always equate to a sense of belonging or acceptance. Sometimes the same people praising your appearance are the same people making you feel like you're not really one of them. And another layer people don't talk about enough is the jealousy. The jealousy mixed with the projection. Like some people will assume that because society romanticizes exotical beauty, the person must automatically have social ease. But hypervisibility can create isolation too. Like people are watching you more, they're comparing themselves to you more. They're projecting their motives onto you more and assuming arrogance where there is none, right? She thinks she all that. They might interpret quietness as superiority, or if you're confident, they're going to say you're arrogant or conceited, right? Suddenly you're dealing with hostility that it's almost never about anything that you actually did. It's what the people decided you represent and how they feel about you without knowing you. And so that's why this kind of bullying can be really, really confusing, honestly, because it's not even based on your behavior most of the time. It's symbolism. So you remind people that there are beauty hierarchies, and colorism. Like you disrupt their expectations of who belongs where, and they punish the discomfort. And I think for a long time, that can make you almost overperform your identity. Like I know that was the case for me. I was tap dancing. I was tap dancing on both sides. I wanted to be accepted here, and then I was like I was a chameleon. I would try to be accepted here, and then turn around, start tap dancing on the other end, trying to be accepted there too. Ultimately, I didn't fit in either category. I was in my own category, and that's totally fine. But yeah, you might find yourself code switching more, or explaining your background more, or downplaying your appearance. That is something that I did for a very long time, but I also because I didn't know. I didn't I didn't know that I didn't know how attractive I was because people were always negging me or not complimenting me, because I guess they assumed that I was already getting compliments elsewhere. That was not the case. That was not the case. But you might find yourself making yourself smaller or trying to be digestible in every group that you enter. You're going to try to prove that you belong there too. or that you understand, or that ultimately this is also my community. Like, I belong here, but that will drain your spirit. Nothing should ever require self erasure. And I had to learn that the hard way. Like, at some point, I realized people who are committed to misunderstanding you they will forever move the goalposts. You will never measure up, you'll never be enough, you'll never meet their standards. And so you have to stop trying to. You have to set your own standard, set your own goalposts for yourself. It's not about how you look or how you act, your mannerisms or your interests. Like, there will always be another test. So eventually, yes, stop living in reaction to other people's insecurity. And, ultimately understand that the bullying isn't about you or exoticals at all. It's about unresolved identity wounds within the community, right? Colorism, all the isms, featureism, beauty standards, all the buzzwords. People will start gatekeeping their culture because they are afraid of losing symbolic ownership of it. And ambiguous people become easy targets because we challenge those neatly drawn social boxes, right? But existing at the intersection also is not shameful. It's not something to apologize for. And it's not something other people get to police. You just got to stop chasing acceptance from every group and start building your own internal certainty. Like, you do not need unanimous permission to belong to your own lived experience. You're not less. You're not fake because your phenotype triggers people. And you're not disconnected because people are committed to stereotype and misunderstand you. Sometimes being exotic looking, it means learning early that people are going to read stories on your face that have nothing to do with your actual life or your thoughts or your feelings. And that is when you will start to feel free. That's where the real freedom comes. So, those aren't your stories. You can stop carrying them. Carry your own stories, right? If you ever felt bullied or questioned or alienated by communities that you should technically fit into, just know your identity does not become less. It's not less real just because other people struggle to understand your complexity. Okay, that's all for this video. I hope to see you in the next one. And if this resonated with you, if you have any of your own stories you want to share, let me know in the comments. I'll talk to you next time.